As a first home buyer, it's natural that you would both have doubts and concerns about the process you are about to embark on. What were your three main concerns?
I think for me, the biggest concern was market variables and whether or not we were potentially looking at places that were above our budget, or potentially putting in offers where the value of the house was not what we were putting in an offer on.
Yeah, and the other thing is to do with finance and hidden fees. We were kind of wondering, how much are we borrowing? Are we going to have any money left over after we pay the mortgage? And hidden fees, things like, everyone talks about, you should have your 5%, 10% or 20% deposit or something like that. But they don't talk about the hidden fees like the bank fees and even moving costs and stamp duty and transfer titles and things like that. It was really overwhelming trying to figure out all of that out.
Can you tell us what drove you to engage with a buyer's advocate?
Yeah, so as we were saying, it was just such an overwhelming process, kind of not knowing even where to start, like which suburb should we go to? How much should we actually be paying for a unit or for a house? And as well as, valuing the property, is this really how much it would cost? Because they're saying, on the ads, it would say, offer over or offer of this. And we were kind of like, well, where should we be starting?
It was really helpful too, because we'd be looking at places and we'd have different ideas about what was potentially an issue or what was a positive about a place. And it was just that constant back and forth, trying to make sure we weren't making mistakes, with a huge decision. And then having someone to actually talk to who we knew had the experience to actually be able to answer those questions, with confidence. Whereas we were doing as much research as we could. Really, in the end, we were just taking our best stab at a big decision.
When you engaged with Steve McGee from NPB, what changed?
I know for me, that was the biggest thing that I noticed. Once we engaged Steve, we made a decision, and we had that confidence knowing that, okay, we've made this decision, we've made this call, we've sent it off to Steve to follow up, get some feedback on it. And when we got that response, we had confidence that we had made the right decision for us, and we had that clarity from him saying, yeah, no, that is the right call. You guys are on the right path.
Yeah, just having that knowledge behind us. Like when we first started talking to Steve, you just knew right away he knew what he was talking about. He's been working in the industry for so long. And as Zach said, just having that confidence, because we've never bought a property before. And so any decision we made, anything that we asked ourselves, there's just, we just didn't have that confidence to be like, yeah, that's the right decision. So I think that was the best part, is having someone behind you being, that's the right call. But also it just made the process so much smoother. Like everything just happened so much quicker because we've been looking for months, and then Steve came into the picture, and I think we got an offer in, accepted, contract, everything within a week. Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing too, is a lot of the things that he told us, we were like, oh yeah, no, we did know about that. Those are things that we'd thought about. But it was reassuring to know that, we weren't missing anything there. And then on top of all that stuff we were reassured about, there was all this new info that we went, oh yeah, I didn't know that I should be looking at, the amount of slope on the land and how that's going to affect drainage and all this stuff. It was, it was just that confidence knowing we had someone backing us up. If we made a mistake, he'd notice it, he'd fix it. And it just stopped a lot of the back and forth kind of anxiety about, are we going to make the wrong choice? Are we missing anything?
So when you met with Steve for the initial strategy session, did that add clarity to you in terms of the education and the execution of your search process?
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed that strategy meeting session we had, because Steve kind of gave us this skeleton checklist, and we have never had something like that. So when we were looking on realestate.com for homes, we would go through hundreds, and then go to all of these open homes. And then when we turn up, we're kind of like, oh, this isn't really what we wanted. You know, the pictures look so much better or anything like that. Whereas when we finally figured out exactly what we wanted, had this checklist of kind of non-negotiables, you know, like how big should a unit be? How big should a home be? How many units should be in a block? What extra things should a unit have? Things like that. That really helped us narrow it down. So we can literally go through the listings and narrow it all down so that we're really not wasting our time and only going to see places that we know is going to work for us.
And even just deciding, you know, when we're looking online, what's even worth putting our brain power into, you know, what's worth spending time even reviewing online. You know, once we got that info from Steve in that kind of strategy meeting, you'd be flipping through it and you'd be like, oh, I love this photo. Yeah, this looks great. And you'd quickly look at it. Oh, no, it's 62 square meters. It's tiny, like not even negotiable. Or you'd look at it and see, you know, the photo, you'd see there'd be this huge slope on the land. You know, like, I remember this. That's a big issue potentially. You know, and you just take it out of the equation right off the hop. So instead of spending 10 hours looking at 150 places and going to see 5 of them, you know, you'd spend 2 hours look at the 10 that actually mattered and that actually were a good fit. Go look at the ones you wanted. It just smoothed things out so much.
Yeah, and then after, once we've signed the contract, it was amazing to have Steve there reminding us, like, deposit needs to be at this stage, you know, remember you've got to get your building and pest done. All of those things you don't even think about when you're buying a place. You're just like, oh, you find a house, you sign the contract and that's it. But that's not it. You've got the settlement, you've got building and pests. If you are buying a unit, you've got your body corps and strata report. So, you know, to have Steve there during those processes as well, making sure we're not missing deadlines, was also just really amazing.
Would you recommend NPB's first home buyers service?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, the thing that I found most important about engaging with Steve and working through this whole process has just been that confidence, knowing that we had someone with heaps of experience who could help us, you know, make the right choice and make that with confidence and really relieve some of that anxiety around, you know, what was the biggest financial decision that we've ever made in our lives, and, you know, the biggest one that we will make until we look at our next property. So that confidence and that experience was everything, and it removed all the anxiety and the conversations we were having around, is this the right choice? We just knew then.
Yeah, I absolutely would recommend Steve. Just having him there just brought this kind of calm to us, because I feel like before we were just like back and forth constantly with absolutely everything, and as soon as we got Steve involved, it was just a much more enjoyable process because he kind of took away all the technical part and we got to do like the fun part. And I always think of it this way, you know, if you've got $500,000 to spend, you would engage in a financial advisor to help you invest that money. So if you've got $500,000 to buy a home, like, why wouldn't you get a professional in to help you? It is the biggest decision, the biggest financial decision you're going to make. So why not do it right that first time around or second time around?